Yeah, hello, do you hear me well?
Hello, Dr. Stefan. How are you doing?
Very well, do you hear me?
Yes, we are very pleased to have you with us, Professor Schreiber,
I'm
and we
very
are
pleased to
eagerly
be,
looking for your lecture.
I'm
We
very
don't
pleased
still,
to be with you. Do you see
yeah,
my
now,
screen?
just a minute. Can we have the screen, please? Now we have it.
Very good. I'd like to talk to you about new horizons in the therapy of IBD. And obviously, IBD is a very complex immunopathophysiciology. There are many options for therapeutic interventions, as you see on this slide here, showing you the different targets. And obviously, we are, I think, at a time change here with many, many new principles becoming available. And I like to zoom down on a few of these. I think our main point is biologics still. And you see here the biologics which we have, which open the new pathway, was the Ustikinumab, which goes against IL-12 and 23. And you see the innovation where IL-23 is now targeted specifically. And with this, I'm talking about a big race that goes on, and that has put 4 different biologics with this principle on the road: Risankizumab, Guselkumab, Mirikizumab, and Brazikumab. So why is this race going on? This race is going on because psoriasis is cured. This is psoriasis, and we look at a PASI 90. So 90% of all the lesions are gone away. And a PASI 90 is like our SES-CD below 2. So it means almost healed mucosa. So look, there are 3 injections of such an anti-IL-23, and there is 90% of patients reaching PASI 90. And if you look at the different doses that are given here, 3 different doses. The lowest dose is like placebo, and then there are the 2 higher doses, very effective. And even after the 3rd injection, there's a long-lasting activity of the drug. And the, I think, most impressive is the blue one. The blue one is Ustikinumab, Stelara. It looks like placebo in this comparison. So this has initiated a race. So what data do we have? I think the first drug that will come in Europe to clinical use will be Mirikizumab from Lilly. It is an ulcerative colitis. This is phase 2 study, clinical remission, endoscopic healing, ulcerative colitis. You see data which are not as good as psoriasis, but they're still very good. You see the clinical remission, the endoscopic healing. These are very reasonable data. And one thing which hasn't been shown on this graph here is that the activity in the biorefractory patients, so patients who have failed anti-TNF, is as high as in the naive patients. So I think a big step forward, no question, not the end solution as in psoriasis, but a big new asset. And it goes reasonably fast. You see this here, symptomatic remission coming in 58% of patients. See how fast, obviously, the activity declines. Now, there's a phase 3 study out that apparently has confirmed all of this phase 2 data. Lilly has not disclosed it, very unusual, but the submission to the EMA has already far progressed. So we expect to see the data probably together with the drug appearing. So very interesting to see how secretive this is done, but this is part of this, I think, race for the first drug being out. They don't want to help the others. Here you see these promise of bio-naive being the same as bio-experience. And I think if you look at response, meaning to have 72% response is higher than any anti-TNF, and even the refractory to have more than 50% response is just enormously high. So the second drug out on this race is going to be Risankizumab from the company AbbVie. And this will come out in Crohn's disease maybe a year later, so in early 2023. This is a finished phase 3. And again, you see a great level of differentiation in the 2 parallel induction studies, one done in refractory patients on the right side, one done in naive patients and some are refractory. But again, you see that kind of large differentiation, and you see the from placebo, and you see that the numbers are again the same, and that for the first time, we are not seeing that the refractory patients is pulling the numbers down. And maintenance, again, it's a long-lasting drug. So the placebo still has some kind of long-lasting effect from induction. It wears off faster if you look at deep remission, but you see the numbers for maintenance are also quite large. You see a new outcome. You see deep remission. What is deep remission? It means everything controlled. And so we are also approaching a new level of disease control with these drugs. And the third one, Risankizumab from Johnson, probably the same time as AbbVie. You see also different arms being trialed against placebo and Crohn's disease. And you see similarly a large efficacy signal. You see also that ustekinumab is weaker. And I think if the analysis is driven deeper, also into deep remission, you will see ustekinumab really going down. So what else is going on? There is also going to be oral molecules. They're in the pipeline, and they will follow in a few years. And these oral molecules, I think, will be then the next wave of antagonizing IL-23, and this will be a new time, it will be a new sunrise in IBD. The other big effort done is to develop more JAK inhibitors, so inhibitors that are behind the cytokine receptor and stop the signaling of the cytokine receptor. And these drugs, we know, Tofacitinib, you have that as well. Tofacitinib is a very strong drug. It's very fast. By day 3, you see differentiation from placebo. By day 3, not week 3. And you see here very reasonable induction for Tofacitinib. It's approved all the way to 10 milligrams here. And you see also that the remission maintenance also is very, very sustainable. The problem with Tofacitinib is that it has a fairly large footprint. These are all the kinases inhibits in the human kinome. Each of these little branches is another kinase. See up here the JAK kinases, and you see many other kinases are inhibited as well. So there is a little problem with a broad inhibition profile here. And that has led to some safety concerns. You are probably having seen that also with the Egyptian authorities that gave you letters telling you that in rheumatoid arthritis, 10 milligram Tofacitinib given for a long time is a problem, can be a problem, because there are major side effects, especially thromboembolic complications coming along. And in a recent registry, numbers have been also put to myocardial infarction, 1.3-fold more than under anti-10F, and even cancer is elevated. This data only comes from RA. It doesn't come from ulcerative colitis, and it may not apply to our population where the safety record is absolutely clean. But still, it has taken some of the enthusiasm away for broad use of Tofacitinib, and we use it in more of the severe cases and no longer that kind of very early on. But there are new drugs coming, and one of these new drugs is Upadacitinib, with the idea of being more selective, and rather than inhibiting every JAK kinase, to zoom down on JAK1, just one of them. And then you see that there's also very nice remission numbers coming in 2 independent induction trials on the left side here in red, the primary endpoint, which is clinical remission after 10 weeks. And you see also that the maintenance capability, again, is very reasonable, very good. Also, you see new endpoints here. I get to this in a second, combining histology and endoscopy, and again, reaching a new level of controlling disease. This is the maintenance study showing you the excellent maintenance capabilities and also the endoscopic response here. So sorry about the German slide, I just see this now. So you learn German, very good. So the times are over that we just do symptomatology or CRP or endoscopy. We now try to combine histology with endoscopy and no CRP anymore. And with these new drugs, you can do this. You see this new secondary endpoint, histoendoscopic mucosal improvement, histoendoscopic mucosal healing. You see the numbers are high, and probably we'll see patients where we have done it with the disease. So we may not have 90% of patients in a PASI 90 as in psoriasis, but we may have 10, 20, 30% of patients where the disease is controlled and where we can walk away. If the patient takes a drug, the disease will be completely under control. That's a new dimension which these new drugs will allow us. Crohn's disease, JAK kinase inhibition has an efficacy profile here in phase 2 against placebo, but we do not know how good. And we also see that ileal disease, for example, is a weak spot of the JAK inhibition. So that will take time. And there's not only one, there's also a race. There's a second one, filgotinib, very much like Upadacitinib here, the ulcerative colitis data, also showing you induction, primary endpoint clinical remission, very clear, and showing you maintenance. And in Crohn's disease, also some efficacy also for filgotinib. So the race is not over. That is what happens next year. Next year, we'll have filgotinib and upadacitinib both approved in Germany, and Egypt's not going to take so much longer. But you see, the pipeline is full, and there are more drugs coming, being even more selective. So we will have a rich choice here. Final therapeutic principle is the S1P receptor agonists. What is this? It comes from the world of multiple sclerosis. The idea is very simple. They stimulate a receptor. If you switch that on, then you hold inflammation cells in lymph node and in bone marrow, and they no longer become available to go and give inflammation in the periphery. And there are two drugs in advanced development. One of them, ozanimod, is already on the German market for multiple sclerosis and will come to the German market by spring next year. And etrasimod is traveling not so much behind. And you see here the efficacy signals, also very clear differentiation from placebo for ozanimod, primary endpoint clinical remission, mucosal healing. You see reasonable numbers. You see here the maintenance numbers in the phase 3, induction, the maintenance, again, very clear differentiation from placebo. That is good news because maybe drugs like ozanimod can also go to early UC and be uncomplicated and may be used long before we even advance to biologics or to JAK antagonists. Here, etrasimod, the follow-up substance from ARENA, again showing you so clear differentiation from placebo. So that brings me to the end. I've taken you to a ride that was quick because time was short, and was quick because so many new drugs are coming. But the take-home message, we will see IL-23 blockade through infusion biologics in Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. First will be Risankizumab by Lilly in ulcerative colitis, and then we'll see Risankizumab and Guselkumab in Crohn's disease. The new thing is the large efficacy signal also in biophilia patients, and apparently very few side effects, actually no side effects at all. Then we have seen JAK antagonists, filgotinib and upadacitinib being the new ones, and tofacitinib, Xeljanz being the old one. And tofacitinib is an excellent drug. It has a very strong efficacy, but side effects hold us back. Here now, new selective antagonists will come, filgotinib, upadacitinib next year. They are there, but we still have to be careful because at the moment we do not know how selective. And then the completely new class we have never heard of, S1P receptor agonists, stimulating drugs that hold the lymphocytes back in the lymph node, back in the bone marrow. The first one is ozanimod. These agents work at the crossroad of multiple sclerosis, ulcerative colitis, and probably also Crohn's disease. Ozanimod is a drug that has a clear efficacy profile in ulcerative colitis. Etrasimod will come next. And I think we'll see through the multiple sclerosis world how good these drugs are in terms of side effects. That will guide our use also in ulcerative colitis. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Stefan, for this nice lecture. And if there is any questions. Okay, we move for the...
Professor Schreiber, now we are having so many medications to use in both Crohn's disease and UC. But most of the investigations and most of the studies are comparing these medications with placebo or the standard conventional treatment. We need more of the head-to-head trials. What do you think about that?
You know that I initiated one of the head-to-head trials. It was vedolizumab against adalimumab, where vedolizumab was better than adalimumab. It helped us a lot because it helped us in choice. I think with the new therapies, we need this as well for choice. But we also have to recognize that for the first time, there will be a new population of patients where the disease just stops. And we can also, take our new therapies, go and see whether we can control disease, And if it doesn't work, we can change to another new therapy and see whether this would work. So I think we have, I think, a new paradigm ahead of us. In the old world, we never got a patient to control. We always got the patients better, but that was it. But now, we can go much further and we can be much more critical. And we can say, even if we do not have head-to-head data, which I agree we should, but if we do not have head-to-head data, we test it. And if it doesn't work, we leave it.